You mentioned something in your intro about six figures. And something that
Mm-hmm.
bothers me as somebody who focuses on profitability is that people walk around toting their revenue number. So
Mm-hmm.
they'll say, oh, yeah, I hit six figures, I hit seven figures, I'm an 8-figure business, right? But when I started working with law firms, one of the stories I share all the time is that I had a law firm client that had 2 million in revenue and $50,000 in profit, which, if you can't do the math, it's about 2.5% profitability, which means that if you sneeze the wrong way, you're losing money. That really, it really honed in on this problem where the emphasis is placed on the revenue that we kind of forget what the purpose of doing it is. So tell me, how do you describe a business when you want to describe the size, and do you talk about the revenue number the same way? What did you mean by six figures when I read it in that bio?
Yeah. So in that bio, I am definitely talking about six figures from a revenue perspective because that is the way that people often will resonate with it, especially those business owners that are just at the beginning and really struggling. But I agree with you completely. I think the revenue number is almost irrelevant, especially if you don't know the rest of your numbers, which the more clients I come across, the more I realize how many business owners are operating with little to no understanding of the finances or even what their profit. Do they know their profit number when I start with them? Almost never.
Yeah, and that's probably one of the big challenges
Their
when it
own.
comes to profitability is that people are just unaware.
Mhm.
But they probably know that there's a problem, right? Like they know that something's broken, but they just don't know what it is.
Yeah. Yeah, they know that their ability to take home income in whatever form their accountant has sorted out for them is they're making a lot more money coming in than what they're able to actually pull out in their business. So that they recognize, that they can figure out, but they just don't necessarily understand how is that happening.
Yeah. Now, in my experience, the earlier you are in business growth, the more profit as a percentage of revenue you're able to have. And as you grow your business, that percentage decreases because your expenses increase. And when you first start out, you might not have any expenses, or you might have very little expenses. So it's interesting that you're focusing on people who are early on in business that are struggling with profitability. So I'm just curious, when you're working with clients, what are you finding is the main challenge or issue when it comes to profitability?
I think the number one challenge that I see with my clients, especially at the beginning, is they're not focused on profitability. So that's not even a consideration. I think you're right. So many beginning business owners don't even think about it. They're really thinking about, I need sales, I need sales, I need sales, which of course is true. You do, because otherwise there's no profit either. But what I'm finding is they're not setting themselves up long term for successful business ownership if the only thing that they're paying attention to is how many clients they get in the door. And realistically, when we talk about business owners, oftentimes the amount that they're charging their clients is a massive factor in whether or not they're profitable long term, but even in the short term as well.
So do you think in those early stages the problem is not charging enough, or the problem is that they're spending more than they can afford to spend?
I think it can be one or the other. I think almost always they're not charging enough. I think that's a pretty universal problem that I run across with clients. But I think it's both. I think it's both.
Mhm.
I think they hold hands. I think those are problems that business owners have, and they just hold hands and they go together, and it's kind of compounds the problem.
Now let's talk about the why that's happening. I think it would be good to talk about both of them, but let's start on the expenses side, right? So
Mhm.
there's a tendency to overspend. Why do you think that that's happening?
I think there's a couple of things that happen. I think they are looking often we are looking at businesses bigger than ourselves as our example, as the kind of version that we're trying to be. And so they see things like people are just putting money towards different things. I often see with um, massive advertising dollars. We'll see that a lot. And we'll see just expenses, hiring people without actually having a plan for what is that person meant to be doing? How are they actually generating revenue? Do you have a way for them to kind of continue to be valuable? So I think it's those things. I think they look to bigger businesses as the example of what to do before they're quite ready to do it themselves. And that can be so problematic because then you're putting a lot of money towards things that you're not yet ready for and you don't really have the money for. And then I think it's that realization that they're really struggling and that they want to grow faster. And so it's that shiny object problem where it's maybe if I have this, maybe it's this software, maybe I need to switch my software. That's obviously the problem. And so there's a lot of grasping at straws as to what is the reason that I'm struggling to make more money. And they just toss money at the problem without a strategy a lot of times, really.